Alright, so this is a commented run for the Wall Street mission. I'm gonna be doing this on Escalation Tier 10 on my own. So, there you go, Tier 10. I'm using Toasty derived builds with the Exodus gloves and with military MK46 with seasonal modifier. I have it configured for magazine size. So, yeah, already have everything ready, so let's get started. So, start the mission. Let me reduce the audio a little bit. So when you start a mission, we're gonna be running to this ladder. We're gonna climb it. And we're gonna throw our overcharge decoy right in the middle. The benefit of overcharge decoy is that they usually last a lot longer than a normal decoy. So yeah, that's why I like them. Also the cooldown is a lot shorter, like 8 seconds versus 24 seconds, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I'm not going to focus on the anchor, right? Kill them. And I'm gonna wait for this Gal. There we go. Ah, couldn't kill her. There we go. The most annoying enemy in this mission are going to be the turret guys. They usually target you, no matter if you have a decoy or not. So yeah, this is probably going to be like your mass priority. If they're close enough though, you can use like a grenade to take them out of the turret. So anyway, I'm gonna throw a decoy there, and I'm gonna move to the side. Gonna check line of sight so that I don't get that many enemies aiming at me at the same time. There we go. And that's the second room. Gonna destroy our decoy. So before this part, I suggest that you fill out your LMG ammo. And make sure to empty it before you open the door. We gotta need the frenzy talent to prop right as we enter the room. So yeah, I'm also gonna wait a little bit so I can overcharge my decoy. I'm gonna throw it right at the middle of the room, and that way that should grab the attention of the rushers that spawn on the left side. So here we go. Throw a decoy, take cover, reload. Alright, here's a turret guy. I'm gonna take care of the rusher first. They're the closer ones. One benefit of Exodus is that you can use it to pretty much protect your Hellgate, and you can also use it to get some precious seconds in order to damage trade with certain enemies, especially the ones that are closest to you. So yeah, they're a godsend for solo play, pretty much. Whenever you have it ready, always throw a decoy. The turret guys won't really pay attention to the decoy once you start shooting them, but there's gonna be a second wave of enemies, these ones, that you need to focus on. That's where the decoy comes pretty handy, especially if you get something like Anchor on one of the enemies. The modifier that gives damage reduction with fire bullets. So yep. There we go. Another small screen. Let me see if I can kill the turret guy. The other enemies pretty much engaged with the decoy, so I can focus on this guy and this guy. There we go. So I'm gonna empty my gun. I can show you a little quick trick for this one. So if you want to empty your LMG the quickest way, you can empty this thing, do the reload animation, and once before it ends, you start interacting with the ammo box. And there we go. This is probably the quickest way to empty your LMG, and if you want to refill your ammo. So yeah. Gonna equip the quick step. This is pretty important for this part. Gonna open the elevator door. And once we open the second set of elevator doors, the enemies are gonna start spawning while we're interacting. So I'm gonna be doing this. Gonna be opening the door, and I'm gonna be throwing my decoy on that pillar that I'm aiming at. I need to be quick though. There we go. And I can hunker down at the back of the room. There's many pieces of cover that we can take cover behind. Hate anchors. The enemy's gonna be trying to contest the stupid ammo box. Honestly, I haven't lost a mission, a Wall Street mission, just because they took too many ammo boxes. I think they can take one of the ammo boxes, and we're still okay. Already had done an Escalation tier 10 where that happened, so yeah. But still, I want to focus on the NPCs instead of taking the boxes. It's gonna be like 4 or 5 waves of enemies that we need to take care of before they stop spawning, and you can take the boxes pretty easily. So yeah, we're gonna throw the decoy right now. The more you control the decoy at the back of the room, the better. You can put it in a better position to be able to shoot them. That guy's gonna destroy my decoy. There we go. They destroyed the decoy. I'm throwing overcharge decoy. And there's Duchess. I believe that's her name. Oh, they shot me behind cover. That's not good. I'm taking cover. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a annoying enemy to deal at. So I'm gonna keep throwing my decoy on the middle of the room. For anchors, you gotta be really careful on when you like aim your head or something. It can be extremely annoying to deal at. Let me throw another grenade. There we go. Ooh. I'm low on armor. Let's throw an overcharge decoy right now. I need it. I need to be really careful so I don't get cheated out of existence, especially because I don't have the reviver hype. I should be able to throw a decoy right now. There we go. Alright, that was the last NPC spawn, so I can take care of the boss. And that's a reviver hype. There is no way I do this mission without the seasonal modifier, so yeah. And there we go. That was the last enemy, so we can now start taking the ammo boxes. I don't understand what the NPCs are doing with these ammo crates. Like, it doesn't make sense, this objective. So anyways, let's secure the other crate. And as I said, if they take one of the crates, you're okay, pretty much. There we go. There's an ammo box right here, so we're gonna do the trick. I interact with runs. I'm finishing the animation, the reload animation, and then I start emptying my gun with the increased RPM. And there we go. Let's keep going. There's a piece of cover right here, so we can take it. You should be able to focus on the enemies that are dropping down. If an enemy takes covers behind this thing, just suppress them. You gotta be careful with the snipers too. Luckily their shields don't have that much health, so you can pretty much destroy them pretty quickly with Frenzy LMG. That's the great part about the Rikers. Their shields don't take that much damage, so yeah. Alright, so there's enemies. Gonna throw the decoy right here, an overcharge one. And that stops the enemies under tracks. So, shooting. I'm gonna focus on the other guy that has no anchor. Alright, that failed. But that enemy's far away enough so that the anchor doesn't apply to them. So yeah. that anchor mutator can make your runs pretty hard, especially if you get like an anchor NPC right next to you. Already lost one Escalation tier 10 run just because I had a rusher spawn with anchor right next to me. They put me on fire, they don't have my reviver hype, and died. So yeah, gotta be really careful with the Rikers. Alright, so for this part, we're gonna fill out our ammo. Gonna do the trick. There we go. Gonna empty the gun before reaching the next room. And gonna make sure that I have an overcharged decoy ready. Interact with this computer. And you can open the door. So for this next part, we're gonna hide behind cover. We're gonna throw overcharged decoy right on the center, and then we take cover right here. We need to take care of all of the enemies that are right here, the first three, so that we are able to run into a piece of cover on the left side of the room. Alright, I think that's good enough. The benefit of this place is that there's a ton of cover, so you don't get targeted by mortar thing. And you also have a ton of cover to evade the turrets and the enemies that are spawning on the other side of the room. So yeah. Let's see if I can... There we go. I wanted to see if I can damage straight with the turret. I didn't have to. Alright, there's an turret guy, so I'm gonna throw a decoy right here. It's always very important to take care of the NPC before focusing on the yellow boxes, mainly because you never know if an enemy has anchor, the fire bullets thing. They can pretty easily kill you if you get an NPC and they grab you by surprise, so I prefer to focus on the NPCs first. Alright, they're suppressed, so I'm gonna focus on the yellow box now. That's the third. Gonna empty my gun first, and I'm gonna move cover to cover so that I don't get too lit by the turret thing. Gonna focus the exotic AR. That should give you weapon damage and RPM boost. Comes pretty handy. And I can kill this guy. Alright. Gonna throw another overcharge decoy right here, and I'm gonna do a cover to cover move. Gonna reload my Frenzy LMG, and I'm gonna focus on the last yellow box. The decoy really helps with those rushers. I don't need a grenade for that. There we go. For next part, there's gonna be a wave of 3 enemies from on the left side, so yeah, I'm gonna start reloading my Frenzy LMG. And I'm pretty lucky. Not a single one with anchor. Great. Alright, so those were the last 3 NPCs. No prototype drops yet. So yeah. Gonna fill out your LMG ammo. Let's empty the gun before we enter the gym. And then we're going to throw a decoy on the right side, an overcharged one. Make sure to reload your gun, and I'm gonna start killing the enemies first from the top and then from the bottom. Alright. Right as I kill the third enemy, there is a second wave of enemies going to spawn behind the walls. You need to be careful that heavy doesn't spawn, like it does on Storm Mode, and it didn't spawn. So yeah, There's also an anchor enemy here, but there's no enemy nearby, so it was pretty easy to take care of them. There we go. So I have 5 seconds, gonna wait for the modifier to come back, and I'm gonna throw an overcharge decoy right in the middle of this room. Right by the ladder, and gonna take cover right here. There's, I believe, 4 NPCs in this room. I'll take care of them. The NPC patterns are actually pretty easy right now. Not that many anchors, although I imagine they're gonna be getting a few ones at the final room. There's 3 more NPCs. They're pretty much hitting that, so let's take care of them. And there we go. Now, before we go up the stairs, we're gonna be filling up our ammo. There's a box right here. There's also another box right at the bottom of the stairs, but I forgot. So yeah. Gonna get my LMG ready for frenzy before continuing. And gonna make sure that we have an overcharge decoy. Next part is probably the trickiest room in the entire in this mission, right before the boss room. So here's what I'm gonna do. Quick step. We're gonna be running. We're gonna throw a decoy right near the throne, and then we're gonna run back. And we're gonna stay on this left side of the room. That should give us some distance from all of the enemies that spawn on the right side. And it should also give us a clear line of sight for enemies that try to rush us from the left. Also, the decoys should really help a lot so that we don't get targeted by anchor. Let's take care of that anchor. There we go. The last enemy are going to spawn on the right, so we're gonna take care of them. Ooh, that was a nice one. Nice. Oh, that actually went pretty smooth. So, yep, that's the throne room. The decoy really lasted that well, so yeah. Pretty good run so far. Now we're gonna overcharge and drop a decoy right here, and then we're gonna take cover on this corner. We're gonna start focusing first on the enemies that rush us. It's very important to protect this piece of cover that we have right here. There's an anchor. I'm gonna take out this enemy and gonna suppress. Cannot suppress them. Nice. Alright. Excellent, they're both anchors. At least they die pretty quickly. You get 2 anchors right next to each other. You always need to focus the one with the least health. In this case, the rusher one. Alright, that's that part. Now, before we keep continuing, oh, I forgot. There's more enemies. Now, before we keep continuing, we're gonna fill out our ammo again. The last ammo box is right inside the trading room thing. But we cannot get inside the room for our next battle, not yet, so we're gonna fill out our ammo right here. Gonna ready the LMG, and there we go. So we're gonna continue to the last room. 19 minutes so far. Pretty quick run, gotta say. But I don't know if I'm gonna survive the last boss. That last boss is pretty annoying. Like, not the enemies themselves, but like the enemy spawns on the corner. The guys with the turrets. If one of them gets anchor or something, it's pretty easy to get killed on that last part. So anyways, we're gonna be using this screen thing to be able to pick from cover. So I'm gonna be able to pick from the right side and from the left side right here. So yeah, we're gonna get close and throw a decoy right here, and gonna run back. And we'll fight the enemies from here. The right side is the side that I'm gonna be taking the most. And the benefit of having a decoy right here is that the Riker will try to rush the decoy. So yeah, it's very important that you always have a decoy near the entrance. This is the best place to take care of them. Like, this is a bit of a choke point for them. They don't have any cover, so you can kill them pretty easily. One benefit of staying still is that you can get slightly better accuracy when hitting faraway targets. So yeah, that's the part that I like. I don't mind getting my hot foot bar a little fill. I know there's a heavy right in here, so I need to go back. As I told you guys, like, Anchor is probably the most annoying modifier in the game, so we need to be really careful. For heavy, you can always take the thing on the front. That should blind them a little bit, and that should give you enough time to like shoot them on the head and destroy their helmets. That's the quickest way to deal with heavies, and it's also the strategy that I'm going to be using to deal with Kajikas, both Kajika and his heavies. So yeah. Now for this next part, let me see. Alright, so I'm gonna be doing this. There's an ammo box, I believe right over here. I'm gonna be running to that ammo box to fill my ammo, and I'm gonna keep my Frenzy LMG as, try to keep it ready. And I'm gonna be dropping a decoy also on that side of the room. If the Kajika or the enemies don't have line of sight with like the actual decoy device, they won't be able to destroy it, so it's very important that you drop the decoy that way. So yeah, here we go. So, oh, that's actually a pretty decent amount of ammo. So here's the ammo box that you can use to fill out the ammo. I'm not going to be doing that, and I'm going to wait for Kajika to spawn. Usually spawns like right here. Usually. Alright, he spawned right here. So, gonna be facing them, and gonna throw an overcharge decoy and do a cover-to-cover move to move away from them. I need to see what thing they spawn with. Alright, Kajika spawned with Anchor, and one of the enemies spawned with the armor regen thing, and the other one spawned with the EMP thing. So yeah, it's a bit difficult, but not that hard, I think. I hope so. You gotta be careful with the NPC spawns on the corners of the room. Especially if one of them spawns with Anchor, they're gonna be able to kill you pretty quickly. So yeah, be careful with that. Let's see if I can throw another piece of decoy. No, gonna wait a little bit. That's the next enemy spawn. I don't know what they have. Alright, they don't have Anchor, that's great. And I'm gonna drop the decoy right here. God damn it. I need to be careful with Kajika. He's the one that has Anchor, so yeah. And also need to be careful with the Knuckles. He has the stupid EMP thing, so yeah. Always try to have the LMG ready for when the enemy spawn. So yeah, like, gonna wait a little bit. I don't feel comfortable picking them. Already tried to pick them last time and I got killed in this room. Alright, gonna throw a decoy right behind cover. There we go. That's Kajika, and that should be Knuckles. If I was playing on co-op, I would probably be using something like Ravenous, but the problem is the decoy doesn't last that long, and also it's far better to just shoot the enemies on the head with a Frenzy LMG. So yeah, feel more comfortable doing this. Their helmet doesn't have as much health, at least for the heavy ones, and I also do a ton of critical hit damage with this build, so I prefer to play like this. Alright, Kajika is getting too close, so I'm gonna change cover. Very important that Kajika doesn't have line of sight with the decoy. That way it lasts as long as possible. And I also gotta be careful with the NPC's spawn, seeing that he has anchor. If there's an NPC nearby him, he's gonna get fire bullets and he's gonna be a pain in the ass to kill. Alright, here's the shield, and I'm gonna focus on just doing headshots. These pieces of cover right here are pretty good, especially if you get an enemy to spawn on the turret. So there's another turret. Gonna focus on the NPCs so that they don't get Kajika doesn't get anchored. And I'm gonna put a decoy right here. Already destroyed the shield, so I don't really care if I don't really care about like losing the escalation run. Already feel pretty comfortable. Just need to take the last shiver of health and that should be it. And there we go. That's Wall Street, Escalation Tier 10, solo. It's a bit of a difficult mission. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing it solo. But if you want to still run it like that, because you like to play solo like myself, this is pretty much a strategy that I use. So yeah, this mission was tricky enough that I thought it was better to just make a comment instead of just publishing a no comment recording like I usually do. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's wait for the escalation to conclude. And I believe there's like 119 enemies in this room, in this mission, actually. So yeah, 26 minutes, 119. There's better missions to get that amount of kills, but today there's targeted striker, so yeah. This is a way to complete Wall Street. So see you on the next one, guys. Goodbye.